Hello everyone, welcome to our webinar today. We're continuing the Lunch and Learn series, and today we're going to be talking to you guys about quality assurance and project audits in Construction Online. My name is Schaefer, and I'm one of the senior product specialists here at UDA Technologies. Joining me in the webinar today is Gipson, another of our seniors.
Hi everyone.
And we also have Sydney Dorsey helping with the questions today as we're going through the webinar. So again, if you guys do have any questions, take a look at that GoToWebinar panel. There should be an area on there marked questions. And if you guys do have anything that you'd like us to cover or anything that you want to ask, just type in the questions. Sydney will either provide you with a direct answer or flag it for us so that we can make sure that we cover that topic as well. And of course, for our webinar series, for the Lunch and Learn session today, we're going to focus on providing a better insight on what's happening with your projects to make sure that you're able to consistently provide excellent results for your clients. And what that's going to look like, for the most part, is just communication and data. We're going to be gathering a lot of this information today, and what we find with almost $80 billion worth of projects that are being managed every day, we find that these are some of the most important things that you can provide for your customers. Easy ways for your team out on job sites to document the work that's being done. Easy ways to keep track of everything that your customers believe is important. And then, of course, easy ways for you to be able to follow up on everything. With a team of almost 650,000 users now, Holly, is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, with a team of 650,000 users, we've found a lot of key ingredients in successful execution on these projects. And today we're going to share a lot of these with you as well. Now, leading into this, let's go take a look, Holly, at your Construction Online account and see some of this great information that we're going to be working in.
Sounds great.
All right, so today as we're looking through this, of course, we're going to be working within an already existing project. As we've kind of covered in some of the previous Lunch and Learn sessions, building these projects, preferably from project templates, is, again, one of the early steps in executing well on a project. So you'll already have in some of these projects estimates, maybe a working schedule that we're taking a look at. Again, some of the additional tools in here, like maybe some client selections or some pre-built submittals that we're working with for the customer, depending on the type of job that we're using. And so as we're working through this, what we're going to focus on is communication from the field back to the office. And for the most part, this is going to start with that core note, those daily logs that everybody's going to be working with. And either through the mobile app or the web browser, you'll find those under the features, daily logging, or in Construction Online's new navigation, you'll actually find a lot of this information under the project tracking as well. So if we take a look first under project tracking, you'll actually find in the left navigation a section here for daily logs. And in this area, you'll actually find some great tools for seeing some of the details and the information. Most of the information that we're going to cover stems from the individual project. And within the individual project, you'll find all of the features that we're going to be working with here. Again, just as a quick recap, these are going to be projects that we've already built, preferably from templates, and you'll actually be able to customize some of these quick links that you have right here on the project overview. You can click on the gear icon, and this allows you to highlight some of those quick links. Now, for me, this is a really, really important aspect to getting into the overview for the project. Each of the team members is going to work on different parts. Holly, you might want to see everything, so you're going to be jumping around from piece to piece. But maybe for me in this case, maybe I only need to focus on things like daily logs and punch lists and perhaps to-dos, and change orders probably. So in that case, each of the users would be able to go through and select what's going to show up, or we can help kind of super focus on a few individual aspects of these projects. For now, I'm not going to change any of your settings, Holly, but we're going to dive back into those daily logs. And from daily logging, you're going to see a lot of very great options on how to document what's happening on a job site. Now, of course, for all the different types of projects that we're doing, and we see a lot. We've got people who do landscaping projects, or we've got clients who work on a few handyman projects, and some of those jobs are, of course, quick and easy, and we can give you simple tools where you can just go put together a quick work log perhaps, or do some quick project notes for what's happening on the job. You'll find some projects that are a little bit more expansive, like here we're working on Summit at Smith Square. This is phase 2 of the project, and it's going to be a large commercial project. So we're going to have equipment showing up on the job site where you can come into and log what equipment it is and how we want to categorize that against our estimate. Large material deliveries might be showing up. We might also, in this case, need to keep track of things like visitors to the job site, either scheduled or not. This is, for, of course, a lot of bigger jobs, a huge liability concern. We want to make sure that we're always tracking every foot that touches the ground on our job site. And with the visitor log, it gives you an easy entry area where we can track who showed up, how long they were there, and why did they even come in the first place. Sometimes it might be an inspector, sometimes it might be the client going to the job site, sometimes it could be one of your UDA product specialists visiting you and your jobs so that we can get a better idea of what kind of projects our clients are working on. I've actually had some unique opportunities to show up on several. So again, this is all information that we want to make sure gets documented well and wisely. And it's an easy place where you can come into and just say who showed up. And if we had any conversations or anything like that, you'd be able to track that information here. You've even got an area where you can basically clock them in and out from your job sites just by documenting a few additional fields here.
That's right. For all of these log types, the way that you gather the information is essentially going to be the same. From a quality assurance perspective, of course, it's important that we are able to document what's happening, and you get a couple of benefits here. The first one is immediate, because if you have your field team or your project managers or maybe a superintendent on the job site filling out these logs regularly, especially throughout the day or perhaps at the end of the day, when you have that, two things happen. The first one is, of course, it's documented so that you can come back and report on it later if needed. The second thing that happens is that you immediately can then get that information showing up in your news feed on ConstructionOnline or in your mobile app, or receive that notification. So you're going to see those log entries in real time. That information is available to you. So that really reduces the delay that you would have in getting that information, which in turn is going to lead to a higher quality on the project. You're able to spot things faster that might need your attention, or things that may come up as problematic later, or get a confirmation that things are being done correctly and see that in real time as well. The longer term benefit, of course, is that not only is it captured for your information today, but reporting down the road will be something that you'll be able to do. So when we look at kind of the nuts and bolts of putting these together, of course, it won't be unusual for someone on a job site to create log entries from their phone. So that's super easy to do. For our workshop today, we're going to focus more so on the interface that you see in ConstructionOnline, just logging in through the website. But of course, all of this is accessible through the mobile app. Entering the information is really as simple, though, as filling out a form, and in the case of weather logging, even simpler than that. So the first thing that you'll see is that when you create the project, you enter the zip code, and that's where that weather data is coming from. So we automatically begin to track that weather at 5 points throughout the day for you. So that's happening automatically in the background, no extra work on your side at all. When we start to fill out specific observations, logs, and notes on the project, that is going to be just filling out the form with the appropriate information. Attaching photos is something that we would recommend, because you can use fewer words by doing some great visuals with those pictures there. So a lot of times we're doing these on the fly, so it's really easy to upload photos that you already have stored here, or maybe from your desktop. Of course, if someone's doing this from their mobile app, they'll be able to just snap a couple of pictures with their phone through the app right in real time. So that's a really easy way for them to do this. In this case, for our work log, we're going to enter, who showed up. If it's a crew, how many workers did they have? How many hours were they on the job site? And this is where you'll also start to see in logging some of those customizations that we built into ConstructionOnline for you. With the gear there, for example, on resource type, so that you can use one of the selections that we've made, or if you need to adjust this list, then you can definitely do that, so you can start to customize these logs and the option that your teams will have.
Absolutely. And as you're working through most of this information as well, all of the detail that you're providing in these log reports or in these daily logs that we're entering in, it's all going to show up both here on the main interface in Construction Online from the website, but it's also going to be accessible for anybody who's working on the projects through their app. Anybody who needs to go back and revisit any of these individual log entries, of course, can find them underneath the log post here. So you can see where we're entering in these logs, the various different types, who's entering them in, what time frame we're looking at. You'll also be able to come up to the top and take a look at a month view to see how the project looks as a whole. Has everybody actually been entering their logs? And if we wanted to go in and take a look, you could just click on the day, and once again, down at the bottom, you can find all the details and see a little bit more information.
That's a great way to just make sure that your team is staying on track, to be able to quickly see, are we actually recording the information that we want to see recorded, on each of these job sites, or maybe with different log type requirements that you've set up. Now, we do have some great questions starting to come in from some of you. So we've looked at a work log, and you'll notice there are several other types of logs. Ian, as you touched on earlier, you have equipment and material logs, which are intended to help your team document equipment usage and material usage on the job site. So we're looking at, what's our equipment, how many hours did we use it. This is where you'll start to see rate information. We did have a great question about observed weather and delays. So from a weather perspective, we track that automatically, and it's probably one of the most popular things I see people really doing with the daily logging feature, because so many of you are impacted by the weather. Sometimes that can really come up to be something you need to have access to months down the road, that it's just a great thing to have logging. With the observed weather, what we want to do with that log type is, we're automatically recording the weather conditions at those 5 points throughout the day, but maybe the rain actually starts at 2 p.m. and we want to document that there's a specific delay associated with a weather event. So you have the weather that we're pulling for you automatically, so you have that weather data available to you. And then really as a supplement to that, and that these two work really hand in hand, is that you would then document observed weather, perhaps of rain beginning at 2 p.m. and ending at 4, that created a delay during that time on the job site. So we would be able to have that documented. Now there is a separate delay log that's going to be intended really for other types of delays, things that are not related to the weather. And the reason we separate those is because it does allow you to in turn be able to really report on those separately. If we needed to pull a report that was only showing a weather delay along with some of that weather data, you'd be able to do it a little bit better that way.
Absolutely, and that keys into some of the additional information that you'll see here as well. As we are keeping track of the weather conditions along the top, you'll see a wide variety of detail per time frame here, per section. Not only are we keeping track of the general weather conditions and temperature, but you'll also find that when it starts to pick up or become windy, you'll notice wind conditions in here. This is very important for any projects that are maybe we're doing the roofing portion of the job, and if we're going to have people on the second or third floor of a building and the wind is blowing at 20, 30 miles an hour, it's very important to keep track of that here. And if they can't show up or they can't work on the job site for safety reasons, we want to make sure that we note it down here as well. This will show up on the company calendar. You will see it on the project calendar, and depending on your settings, you can even have that information automatically share through to your customers as well. So again, a lot of detail here is going to be provided just so that you guys have the information accessible both to you and your team, and so that we're automatically sharing the bigger picture with your clients so they have a better idea on what's happening.
That's right. Now, a couple of other things to note just from a usage standpoint when you're looking at using the daily logging. There's a couple of things that you can do. If you find yourself creating the same types of logs on a regular basis, we do have a handy duplicate feature, which allows you to copy or duplicate a log and kind of get a head start on some of that data that you may be recording. One of the most common questions that we'll see is, okay, so we have such great documentation here with the daily logs. We know how important this is to the quality of our project, but how do we how do we really make sure that our team who we're depending on here is doing this on a regular basis? Whether it's, the team just not being as familiar, or I know for many of my customers, their teams are just busy. You guys are running some really impressive, successful jobs out there. And that means that not only you, but most of your teammates are really, really busy, especially out there on the site and in the field. So the question is, how do we make sure that these are happening on a daily basis? And so what we've provided for you here is a way to actually set up reminders or logging requirements. So what we would do here is we would note a few things. So, maybe on our Summit at Smith Square project, we want to make sure that at a minimum every day we get a work log, and maybe we get some general project notes. That's our minimum requirements. If anything else happens, we do want that noted, but we just want to make sure that those for sure are being entered every day. So what we look at is setting up a reminder where we're first going to say who's responsible for creating this log. So that's going to be the reminder recipient. So Ian, that might be you in this case. We'll say that, okay, we want Ian to be sure and enter a project log every day. Of course, we've already got our project selected, and then I'm just going to choose which log types I want to make sure are included. So we'll say work log and project notes here. All right, and then we're going to choose what's our deadline for those log entries. So we want to send that reminder every weekday, and we want him to have that done for us by, say, 4:30 in the afternoon. So we'll choose 4:30. Yeah, that works. Now, of course, in this case, we want the reminder to go out by email or text message. I think I'd probably choose both just to be safe. If we have mobile numbers entered, you can set that up for a text message. And then the other cool thing that you can do here is really put in a specific note for your reminder. So if we look at what we would want to say to Ian at 4 p.m. every day, it might be, hey, Ian, don't forget to enter your notes. Some of the clients I've worked with are a little more colorful in how they choose to get those reminders out to their team. Some are a little friendlier, so this is up to you. You can just, kind of enter the message that you want, save this, and what will happen is this now becomes a smart reminder in Construction Online. So when every day at 4 o'clock, the system will scan to see, has Ian for this project entered a work log and project notes? If the answer is yes, we'll skip over that day. He's good to go. If the answer is no, he's going to get a text and an email with your message here reminding him to enter those notes. And so that's a great little just memory jog to make sure that he is reminded, okay, I've got to actually get this done, or maybe the day's gotten away from him. This is just going to be much more likely that you're getting the information you need with those reminders.
Absolutely. And as you are setting these up, you'll also have the option to come in and see what type of reminders we already have scheduled. Again, our goal in providing this type of tool or a resource, as Holly mentioned earlier, it's very easy when we're working on these projects to just kind of get caught up in the work that we're doing. And so having these reminders come out specifically as text messages on the phone just work to give your team that quick little note, that little notice that we need documentation for these projects. We have to have it, and it protects us all. But most importantly, it also allows them to go straight from working to the job site to going to happy hour afterwards and grabbing a beer or what have you. No more trips back to the office, no more paper binders. I think my favorite thing that our logging tool eliminates, we've got a lot of clients that work with folders or manila folders or something like that. What happens if you leave it on the top of your truck before you drive off the job site? Well, that folder is going to blow away. All that work gone forever. We actually have somebody who has been a client of ours for a long time just down the road from our office, and they have a project manager who did this religiously. Twice a week, he would lose all of his documentation. He got to the point where he started to have 5 or 6 folders for every job just because he knew that he was going to lose them. Again, with this, all you have to do is have a phone. If you've got a smartphone, all of this information is going to be available. And again, some of my favorite phrases for logs, for daily logging, some of those requirements include things like, we've got a client who says, I need 10,000 words a week. Now, of course, a picture is worth 1,000 words, so he'll also take 10 pictures. But getting that information together and putting it into the project log documents everything so that we as company owners can follow along with everything that's happening on these projects as it happens. And in fact, you'll see a lot of great tools for tracking exactly this as you go into not just the project log section here, but you'll also be able to go back to the overview for the company as a whole. Under project tracking in this area, when we go to daily logs for everything that's happening on the company, you'll actually see all the activity happening for all the jobs. And so this just gives us that big picture from here where we can see everything as it's happening and can catch things, simple things like maybe the guys are currently planning on delivering the wrong materials to a job site, or maybe they use one piece of equipment a little too long and that's going to affect the next job that's supposed to have it 2 days from now, or something along these lines. Again, it helps us to anticipate any potential pitfalls well ahead of time so that we can avoid them as best as we can.
That's right. Now, when we look at logging and being able to do something with that information now, I know, Ian, another one of the things that we're really see our clients use to their benefit is to be able to then pull that information later. So when we think about the difference between using a tool like daily logging versus using that manila folder, or even more digital methods like sending an email every day. I know that's not unusual when people are transitioning into a program like this to come from maybe they're just sending an email every day or writing it down in a notebook. We actually had a team of workers when we did some office renovations here where their crew wrote down their hours on drywall that was unfinished. I took a picture of that. I was like, I can't believe this. I'm like, come on, man, you guys need to do something else here. So, you've got different ways that the information can be recorded. In addition to the communication aspect, though, we also see that from a quality perspective, part of quality, of course, is making sure that your project is being executed to your standards. And part of quality is being able to prove that it was. Because, when you get 6 months down the road and the drywall is not unfinished, it's now finished, and you've got a finished project, those photos, that documentation of the work done inside the walls, or things that maybe aren't even visible anymore, that's going to be important. If a question comes up, 6 months, a year, 18 months down the road, we want to be able to have that information at hand, not have to dig through folders or through emails to find that important piece of documentation that may be a real difference maker in some of those post-project discussions, or unfortunately disputes and things like that do come up. So the reporting tool then becomes even more powerful. You can of course generate a PDF and do it at the end of every day. I've got clients who do that and maybe hand it off to their clients, things that they want to share. But when you look at historical reporting, one thing that sets Construction Online apart is the different ways that you can actually pull this information. You're not restricted to just a one-day report. You can really go in and customize the way that you want that information to be seen when you do pull the report.
That's true. That's very true. And again, with these reports, all of the information is going to be stored online as long as the project is available. So if you do ever need to run a report, all you need to do is, of course, like in most features in Construction Online, when you're looking at your daily logs, just come down to the project tracking reports section. The very first one here is a project log report, and when you click create, it gives you a space where you can choose what you want to use as your start date for the report. If you want to set an end date for the report, you've got the ability to go in and report by specific resources or who the creator is. In this case, if we said give me all reports created by this account, we could do that. Or for Aaron, the contact that we used, we could choose that instead. You'll also notice that there are several different ways that you can filter this report down. So if you wanted to see all work that was done on the job, for example, we could check just the work log and leave everything else unchecked. You can also go through and check a few different types, whatever you need to do. Now again, Holly, you touched on one of the unfortunate occurrences that happens from time to time for construction companies. Sometimes there are disputes. Sometimes there's a question, especially later on once the job is complete. Something might seem like it was faulty work. The one that always comes to mind for me, there was a hotel that was built down in Florida, and one of our clients actually took over the repair for the job because the construction company that built it didn't have strong documentation or pictures for the support for the balcony that collapsed on this project, on this hotel. And it was something like 4 years after the hotel was built and finished, but because they didn't have documentation and it was still considered in that warranty period, the construction company was responsible for that work, and they didn't have any documentation to prove that they did it right. So again, it fell on them. They were sued for a substantial amount of money, and that company folded. The company went out of business. Of course, that'll happen.
It does. Sometimes you'll see too, even I've worked with clients on jobs that were maybe a little smaller in scope, just, maybe standard residential new builds. But what will happen is we work hard to document everything with change orders, increase in cost, increase in time, but still the project is now 6 weeks later in wrapping up than was originally discussed, for very good reason. There have been changes that have been approved, but not only that, there was, weather events that kind of came in, and those things would probably be in your contract. But you need, want to be able to have something where we can go back and show the client, well, because sometimes what we see is, and I've had these stories kind of reported where the client will say, well, since we're 6 months past, I'm going to still hold X amount of dollars, or can we call it even on this change order, or something like that. And that goes back to some topics that we've covered lately in terms of profitability, where no, we don't want to have to do that. Maybe if you feel like you need to or want to for that client, that's fine, but we want to be able to give the information and present it. No, this is actually why that delay occurred. So maybe you remember that something happened in December of 2018, but don't remember the exact date for the weather. You can go back and pull that weather report. Or maybe those delays are being logged, or maybe your clients brought their extended family over the holidays to visit the job site for every day that week, and that created a delay. But you want to have those things documented. Then the report is pulled, you have the information right at hand.
Absolutely. And the reports will always look something like this, where we give you some options on how much detail to provide. I love the fact that the weather conditions tends to rest at the top for each day in the section here. And then, as you can see, it provides the details from the log entry, small little thumbnails for any of the pictures that were included, the attachments, and it'll tell you everything else that's in there as well. These, of course, just like with all the other reports in Construction Online, can be printed or shared as an email. If we also decide to save this, it saves back into the project or into your location as a PDF. Now, before we do save it, if you look into this and realize that some of your team members who are drawing up these daily logs might have fat fingers and have these full of typos, you can also edit this before you export it or email it off to your customer to clean up any typos or kind of touch up the report a little bit before you send. Otherwise, these fantastic reports are all available, once again, right here through Project Tracking Reports, where you'll be able to put together any kind of filter set for this report. You want a log report? Fantastic. If you just want to show what equipment usage was available on these projects, you can do that too, especially important when it comes time to check the maintenance. Or if you want to just go into and just pull a complete log report for the entire job so you can see everything that's happening across the whole project, this is going to be an option too. Again, these are great tools or resources to have available when you're done. And it's important to document as much as you can in the daily logs so that all this information is accessible at a later date.
That's exactly right. Now, before we move away from daily logs, I think we have a couple of other tools that we want to cover for you guys. But before we move away, we did have a great question coming in about how delays are handled. So one of our clients wants to know, can the weather log link to the schedule and kind of automatically create a delay? So it's not going to link up to a Gantt chart schedule and automatically start making shifts and adjustments. What we would see here is if there's a weather delay, depending on the duration of that delay, it could be an entire workday, it could be only a couple of hours in the morning where you have to start a little bit later. So there's lots of different scenarios that could happen here on this weather report. What we would expect is that when that observed weather delay is noted, of course you are receiving that information immediately. So now you know, okay, that's alerting you or your project management team, like there's a delay and we now need to account for this in our schedule. That gives you the flexibility to get the information, take a look at your schedule and see what needs to happen? Do we need to push this out by a day? Have we lost that much? Do we maybe need to ask our guys to stay an extra hour to kind of make this up? Are there other things we can adjust to keep that project schedule on track without maybe having to shift forward a day or two in time? So there'll be a lot of different ways that you can handle this. Now, those weather delays are going to show up on your project calendar. So when we look at the calendar view, you'll be able to see those. And Ian, I believe you mentioned that this can also be shared in with a client as well. So if we want to share that with clients and have them be able to see, but you'll notice on my calendar here, I see this weather delay icon. So that's, again, one more place that information is visible to me alongside the schedule. And then from there, you can just go into your schedule and make any needed adjustments.
Now, again, if you ever want to see as the customer sees, if you ever want to take a look at their calendar, their projects, or make some adjustments, don't forget you can always come into the team section, right click on any of your client link or team link contacts, and preview their portal as well. If you're curious what those delays might look like on the customer's calendar or customer facing tools, there's a fantastic and very quick and easy way to come in and track this detail. So again, come in and take a look at these. But from this area, our next piece to kind of review or touch on is actually going to follow up with the client experience. We're now going to take a look under not daily logs, we just looked at that one, punch lists. So moving on to punch lists in this case, of course, daily logs are a fantastic tool for showing what we did. But of course, we'll always need tools to go in and see what needs to be worked on moving forward. And punch lists are a perfect tool for tracking all of the additional work that needs to be done, or just providing, again, one of my favorite tools is workflows. And a punch list is a great way to go through and kind of organize what would typically be a workflow for a specific section. Now, if we come in to take a look at the punch lists portion of this project, you'll actually see that Holly has already taken the time to put together a few folders for our punch lists. Inspections, as an example, is a great one. We've got a couple of different punch lists available in here. And as we're going through and doing our electrical rough inspection to make sure everything's done, I have a punch list. Now I can actually open up this punch list as on the app on my phone and perform the inspection with everything as it's bulleted out for me. Now, of course, as we're looking through this, all of these punch lists can be either built in the app or the website, same performance on each. You'll also be able to go through and put together all of the different items that we want to include or add issues underneath them as well. From the website, all you have to do is right-click and add an item issue. So if we're looking at the electrical, the layout for lighting and everything like that, if something needs to be adjusted, again, right-click, add an item issue, and you can put in exactly what needs to be adjusted. Or if we've skipped something here in our inspection, we can actually add new items in here as well. Now, I'm very prone to talking about workflows. I'm a very process-oriented person. The most important thing for me, though, is to lay out that process so that I don't have to try to make it up on the fly. In this case, with these punch lists, you can even put together a set of punch lists, these inspection lists, some of the other like safety checklists and things like that. All of these can actually be put together, and within the punch lists themselves, you can either apply them to a project template. We discussed that previously. All of you should be using project templates. They're fantastic ways to speed up your jobs. But most importantly, if you have a successful project punch list that you want to apply to other areas, you can also right-click and duplicate them to copy them through to other areas as well. This might be the perfect punch list to apply on all of our jobs. So we can just take this one and say, now I want to have this electrical rough checklist on Lot 187 Baldwin Park. That's a great place for it. So let's put it there too. And you can choose the destination folders if you already have punch list folders, or more importantly, save it into that project template so that you guys have it for everything.
Yeah, that's right. The great thing about templates, and what I find in working with you guys out there, is that most people do have inspection checklist, walkthrough checklist, safety inspections, things that you have to do on a regular basis. In most cases, you have this saved on a Word doc somewhere, or maybe in someone's email that gets referenced. So you have this information. It's really just a matter of building this into Construction Online. And the great thing about using this as part of a project template, when we create a new job, the system will ask, are we starting from scratch or do we want to use a project template? And if we choose template where we do already have, let's just say, this set of punch lists built, then for that job, this is automatically going to be there. So that, again, no extra work that you have to do to really up the quality and accountability and visibility on these crucial inspections and daily quality assurance. Now, like Ian mentioned, if you maybe just have someone on job site and need a way to document issues as they come up, just a daily QA checklist is a great way to do that. You see something that needs adjusting, you can quickly, with your Construction Online, like on a laptop or again, especially on a phone, be able to document exactly what it is that needs to be corrected or adjusted, assign that to a resource. So when we're adding a new punch list item, maybe we would notice that a paint was chipped on the entryway or something like that. So if we notice something that needs to be fixed, work is kind of complete on that section, so we need to get the guy to come back out and take a look at that for us, or you need to assign a resource. You'll be able to document a room or location. But the most important things to me would be to come in and not only give us a description, but a due date. So we need this to be fixed by Friday. Maybe it's a high priority item. And then I'm going to assign a resource. So I can assign either an internal resource like one of my company users, or an external resource like my TeamLink member, whoever needs to take care of this for us. So I'll go ahead and assign one of my resources here to complete this, and then we'll go ahead and create it. Now, when we do that, the resource, so I should probably choose someone else, is going to get an email. So they'll be notified that, they have a new punch list item assigned to them. So that's something that they can receive, immediate notice on. The punch list items are also going to become a part of that resource's game plan. Deadlines for these punch list items can show on your master calendar. So you've given yourself not only this specific point of visibility, but really you're looking at 5 or 6 additional points of visibility on that item. Everything from your company overview when you first log into Construction Online, to those emails that are going out, to those game plans. You'll be able to see, hey, this is something that needs our attention, and make sure that it's getting done because it's not going to get lost. So that's a great way to kind of use the punch list as you're, kind of walking through and maybe seeing things. All of your checklist, of course, would be already done so that you can really just come through, check items off that are good to go, and document issues on anything that's not.
And once again, this also provides a great resource for us to go back through and make sure that we're maintaining accountability on these jobs too. In this case, we can go through on any of these punch lists and see who's associated with each punch list, who's checking off all of these tasks. Eventually, when we get to project closeout, there's going to be a final punch list or a closeout punch list as well. The customer's going to go through and outline everything that they expect to be finished before they take the keys and release final payment. All of that is going to get assigned out as well to anybody that you have on your team. My favorite part about that, though, is once that punch list is completed, everything is checked off, there's no more issues or anything like that, we can actually take that punch list, go back to project tracking reports, and print a punch list report as well. It even includes a signature line at the bottom of that report, so the customer can sign off saying, yes, I am happy with the result, we're ready to finalize everything, we'll include that with all lien releases and everything at the end of the job. Mm-hmm. We can finally collect that final payment. That last little piece.
That's exactly right. So you get the customer sign off on it. It could be that there's someone else on the job site that needs to sign off. And when you pull the report, you can of course filter that down by a resource. So if you are working with those extended team members who really just need a piece of paper in hand so they can, check things off for you, you can always, choose to look at only what's assigned to a specific person. I know that many of you, over the years have expressed really a huge time saver in using the system is just the amount of time that you're able to eliminate from going through lists that have been made elsewhere and then compiling a new list of things for someone to get done. The benefit of having everything here is that you don't have to do that. The reporting is going to do that for you, and you've got a list in about 10 seconds that you can hand off to someone.
Now, real quick question here as well from one of our viewers. There was a question not only about the assigned resource, but what's the purpose of having related resources on here as well? And it's a great question too, because of course with a lot of the tasks that we're going to be adding specifically to punch lists, there's going to be tasks on here that other people need to be aware of, even if they themselves are not responsible for doing the work. It's just things like we might have a foreman or a site super who's going to be on the job site, and they need to be aware that the painter is coming out to fix some of the paint chips. And so we can relate them to this task, and so they'll be watching and following along and making sure the right people are showing up on the job site. You'll also have another area where you might assign it to one of your crew leads and then relate it to some of the members on that crew, and he can just go through and remove anybody he doesn't want on there, but he's going to be checking it off when he thinks that the guys are finished. The guys still need to be aware of what they're working on so that they can go through and kind of set it out from there. So once again, what we're doing with those related resources is we're adding some additional people who can see these tasks, these punch list items, but who don't have the authority to say that it's complete. We'll save that for the person who's going to be held most responsible, which is usually a site supervisor or a foreman or a lead carpenter, as they might crop up. So again, as we're looking through this, most of the information on the website is going to be available through the right-click menu. You can add, edit most of these punch list items. You can also from here just right-click and add item issues. Again, the issues would be things like if we're looking at an inspection, for example, and we're inspecting electrical rough, and we're trying to make sure that all of the blocking is done and the fireproofing is done for the wiring that's being installed. If the fireproofing isn't up to spec, then we would need to go through and right-click, add an item issue, and say, hey, we need to go back and revisit this. I don't think that this is going to pass the inspection. And that way, again, we can make the most out of our time bringing other people in. So again, right-click menu for most of that. Don't forget you can duplicate. And what you'll find is, as Holly, I think you even mentioned this earlier, what you'll find is most of these kind of lists, these punch lists or these task lists, they're going to be repeated. They're going to happen over and over and over again. And what you'll find is every time you go back when the job is finished or when that section is finished and review the punch list, you'll start to see patterns. Things that keep getting added to the punch list over and over again, you can add those to the template. Or things that get checked off, but we always have to go back and revisit because whoever's checking them off isn't doing a good enough job inspecting. Maybe that's an opportunity for us to go and have some furthering education or continuing education to provide a little bit better insight on where the pitfalls might crop up 6 months down the road for this particular section. And again, it's all because we're tracking this information and we're laying it out and creating a repeatable process, which for us here at UDA Technologies is one of our fundamental requirements for all these tools that we do. We want to make sure that once you guys find success in UDA Technologies and our softwares and our resources, that you guys have a quick and easy path to repeat that success over and over again on every job.
Exactly.
And this is just another of the many, many great ways to do exactly that.
Now, before we move away from punch list, I know really there's additional tools available within logging and punch list and just the mobile app kind of related to photos in general. So we did want to talk a little bit about just the importance of documentation and being able to reference those pictures. Another thing that's important though to be able to reference often for you guys is to be able to reference your plans. So one thing I did want to share before we move away from punch list is that in addition to being able to manage the punch list here and on the mobile app, you'll notice that this punch list item has this little indicator, and what that means is that I've actually placed it on one of my plans within the Redline plan room. So if I click here, it's just letting me know, hey, this is on a plan. If I go ahead and click here, what it's going to do is the system will find the plan, go ahead and open that up for me and take me to that item so that we're able to really jump in and see not only the punch list item and a description of what needs to happen, but then we also want to see where does that need to happen? How does this relate to other things or revisions maybe that we're making on the plan? So great tool as far as being able to not only manage the not only manage the punch list, I think I've got that on a pretty large plan set there, but you're also able to just go in and see where that's going to be located on the plan and have access to your punch list items in conjunction with your plans all in one place, which tends to be a really popular tool in the field.
And just to give you an idea as well on big picture for Redline, punch list does have the ability to connect. We also have several other tools and resources that can connect as well. To-dos have the pinning option in here. If we come into and take a look under financials, you'll find some under change orders and client selections. These have that pin icon as well. And as you do take a look in the plans themselves, you'll also find most of the information in, let me adjust that. Holly, you did set it a little too high, I believe. But as you're working through this, you'll actually find on the right sidebar that you can create all of this content directly from the set of plans. There we are. There's one of my change orders.
So there is our punch list item. You'll notice that that's tagged right here, so I can see exactly what this punch list item is relating to. So it's a different visual element that we can add to our communication in conjunction with all of the other great communication that comes out. This is another ingredient that can really make things a lot easier for your team in terms of being able to locate these items.
Right, you are. And again, if we are going through and reviewing those punch lists, I find that most of our really, really successful clients take advantage of the fact that this set of plans is going to be available from a job site through the app. And so they'll have an iPad or an Android tablet or a Surface Pro. We use these often. And as they're walking the job site, you can actually come into and work with those punch lists right here. You can actually see the punch list that we need to review. And as we're looking through the various different items in the punch list itself, we can actually take and pin these items right from the punch list itself. And if we have any follow-up questions or issues or items, we can add them in here too and pin them as well. So again, as you're kind of tying all these pieces together, Redline is still one of the most innovative, most cutting edge, and one of my top features in ConstructionOnline. I have a lot of those, but this is definitely top of my top features because this does what most project management systems fall flat on. This gives everybody talking about this particular project the same exact expectation and image, and we can see exactly what's going on, where it's applied, what it's supposed to be, what we actually have. You're telling a much, much better story and giving everybody the right expectations and communicating well. Just using this one piece of ConstructionOnline, just Redline. It allows you to communicate more with less words in a more effective way. And again, everybody's seeing the right things the same way every time.
Every time. Now, other things that allow you, speaking of communicating more information really with fewer words, would be those photos. Now, I know you had mentioned earlier, Ian, that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and I think they say that for a reason. You know, really often projects are fast-paced. We want to be able to communicate a lot of information, and quite frankly, sometimes there is just no substitute for actual photo documentation, especially when we're looking at needing to be able to prove the quality of work or making sure that that's up to our standards, that everything is documented well. Having someone describe it is not the same thing as making sure that we're also taking photos. Adding pictures is really easy in ConstructionOnline, especially through the mobile app. So that's one of our most common use cases. There is someone on the job site is able to just open their app up, hit that camera button, and start taking pictures immediately. Those are going to feed directly into the project. So it's a really streamlined process, easy way of getting pictures added in. Both the daily logs and punch list tools, though, also have pictures and attachments and things like that that are going to go along with that. So that means, you can of course attach anything, but usually what you're going to be looking at is not only checking the punch list item off, but snapping a couple of photos to document that it was completed well. Not only documenting the work that was done with the daily log, but adding several pictures in to document the actual work that was done that day, or the material that was damaged that day, or the result of that weather. So you've got a quick way to just add that additional visual documentation for all of these, and for pictures, knowing the importance, not only have we worked hard to make sure that that's easy to use through the app, but we built in some new tools with ConstructionOnline 2019 especially that are designed to help you not only store the pictures but have really easy access to those at different points here.
And to find that new feature, if you click on Photos either within a project or, again, from the company overview, you can go to Photos there as well. From this section, it defaults into the ConstructionOnline photo stream. And what you'll see in this photo stream is it's actually gathering together all the different pictures that were included anywhere in ConstructionOnline for this job, and it's applying them here, and it gives you a timeline as well. Today's pictures are always going to be at the top of the list. As you go back through time, you're going down this list. Again, here's today, here's the end of March. You'll see a few pictures in there. As you go back further and further on this job, it goes back there as well. I love that this is not only giving you a timeline for the job, but that timeline also tells you where these images are coming from, and in a lot of cases, who's applying them and what it corresponds with, and so on. So again, you're seeing all of the imagery for the job. And one of the nicest parts about this is if you wanted to start at the bottom and work your way up, it's basically like watching the project build itself as you're scaling up through that photo stream. You can of course adjust the time frame for that photo stream here too. So if it's a short, quick project, maybe we step it down to 30 days. If it's a huge job, maybe we want to see the last year's photo stream, or maybe we just want to see everything. Now, granted, of course, if it's a really big job, that might take a little while to show you everything. But again, you can really customize what this looks like. I find that, clicking too many things there. I find that it's a fantastic way to also provide a better picture for your client. Your client can come in and take a look at the photo stream too, and if they have any questions, they can just kind of watch how things are coming together. Does a great job of painting that picture. And if you wanted to track an individual's work, you can come into and filter by a contact, so you can see all of the pictures that Holly has been uploading, or since she's assigning me to all the punch lists and all the things, you can see all the pictures that I'm snapping for the job site and putting them in there too. Again, as far as accountability is concerned, this does probably one of the best jobs showing you the results that your team is providing on these projects. And it's able to give you so much information in seconds, something that just really blows most reports away. Because in a standard report that you might find in ConstructionOnline or through most of the project management systems, you'll have to get that report and you'll read through it and you'll try to paint the picture in your mind or what have you. With the photo stream, you need none of that. It's painting the picture for you, and you're getting just volumes of information at a glance. It's such a fantastic tool for painting all the pictures for the job.
It really is. And as you click through the photo stream, you'll notice that you have some larger previews here to look at. We can also open these pictures up in full screen mode. So if we want to see some additional details, or maybe we see something in the picture that we want to highlight, you can go into edit mode and really quickly make an annotation, or circle something that needs that maybe needs your attention here on the picture. So a lot of great things that you can do with this. Maybe we want to just draw a circle here or something like that. So you can do a really quick markup on the picture, be able to see that visual timeline of exactly what's happening, and see that. Now, one thing to note with the photo stream is that of course it is available here in your main photos area. We've also made filtered versions for you that are available as part of these project tracking tools. So if we're looking at daily logs, for example, and we want to see only all the pictures that we've uploaded as part of this daily log documentation, you're going to be able to have that photo stream option here as well. If we want to do the same thing for punch lists, maybe we want to just look at those pictures that have been added as part of documenting these issues or inspections or things like that, you have a photo stream option here as well. Plus, there's one in your company overview that's going to allow you to see not just for that individual project, but a place where you can really see all pictures uploaded by everyone in the company in one sort of master location, so that it's super easy for you to come in and perhaps just get a quick update of, like what have we added in the system this week or the last month or so. You'll be able to see all your recent photos here, just in one place there.
And so again, what we're doing here is something that in most situations it's very difficult to do. We're providing you dashboards for the work that's being completed. not just a time frame, not just dollar amounts and staying on budget, but with that photo stream, you're able to get a dashboard of your progress on these jobs in addition to timelines and budgets. So again, going back to that company overview, taking a look at areas like the photo stream, like the logging stream, some of those additional tools, once again, just provide you some great resources as an owner or a supervisor for many projects to be able to get into and really track these jobs quickly and easily. Now, if I'm not mistaken, this is also going to bring us to a close for everything that we have for you guys today. Holly, were there any last points that you wanted to touch on before we wrap for today and let everybody finish up and get back to work?
No, I think that it's been a great session today. It's been good to hear your questions and be able to share with you some of the ways that you can use these valuable project tracking tools. As always, if you have additional questions for us, please feel free to call the office. That's 1-800-700-8321. You can speak with myself or Ian or any of our other product specialist team. We're all happy to help. I do also want to make sure everyone here today does know about our upcoming webinars. So we'll continue our Lunch and Learn series 2 weeks from today with looking at leads and opportunities in Construction Online and really how we manage the sales process. 2 weeks after that, getting into, mid-May. By then, we'll be looking at RFI and submittal tracking. So for those specific communication types, really how we're generating those RFI and submittal logs, tracking that information. In addition to our Lunch and Learns, I do want to make sure, especially everyone in this session, knows that our next webinar, we're doing a session next week, a special session webinar to highlight the Construction Online mobile app. That will be next week on Tuesday, April 23rd, and that session will really cover everything mobile. So we'll be looking at the mobile interface, we'll be looking at how the mobile app works, how to navigate the app, some of the things that you can do there unique to the app in addition to accessing the features that we typically show you through this web interface. When we think about using tools like the daily log and the punch list and just taking photos, so much of that is done through the app in the field. I think that would be a really great session, of course, for all of you to mark your calendars and attend.
Absolutely. And one of the other parts to that webinar in particular that you'll be able to see is it'll give you the ability or the insight to see how Construction Online is managing the data that you and your team are entering into the system and how it provides a focused look for each of your team members. This is one thing that on occasion we have a little bit of an interesting time trying to describe to active users for the system. What we see today in Holly's account is her as an administrator with all the projects and all the information and all the activity. What we're not seeing is that Construction Online is giving me a simplified view for everything that Holly has provided. The app does this by default, and next Tuesday we'll actually kind of focus in on that so that you can have the comfort of knowing that not only is it tracking all of the information that you need, but we're not overloading the team on our job sites. We're giving them exactly what they need to focus on so that they can get in, get out, and get back to work as quickly and as swiftly as possible. So, great one for that one. And do make sure that you join us for that. For now, though, this is going to wrap what we have for you today. Once again, this is Lunch and Learn season 3. This is our
episode
three of our Lunch and Learn series. Hopefully, we've been able to provide you guys some great tools to take back to your team. And again, for anything extra, don't forget to join us next time. May 1st for our Lunch and Learn on leads and opportunities. Holly, you're going to have a great fun with that one. I can already see it. But also don't forget too that we're recording these sessions and they'll be available on YouTube as well. So if there was some piece to this that you're really interested in going back and reviewing, make sure that you go to YouTube. You can always go to youtube.com, find us at UDA Technologies. You can find our channel there where you will find this and all of the other fantastic webinars that we've been able to record for you guys and provide. All of that's going to be available to you 24/7 there and from the main website where you can find all of the webinar links so you can go back and review or recap everything that we've covered today. For now, though, again, I want to thank you all for joining us. This is going to end our Lunch and Learn covering quality assurance and audits in Construction Online. hopefully we've given you guys great answers, and hopefully we'll have a chance to talk to you guys again no later than a week from today. And I hope you all have a wonderful afternoon as well. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.